Hello and welcome to the second episode of the American University of Ras Al Khaimah podcast. Today we delve into the critical topic of accreditations in higher education and how universities such as AURAK ensure academic excellence and program quality. Joining us for this insightful discussion are Provost Professor Stephen Wilhite, Vice President to Academic Affairs and Student Success. Welcome, Provost. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Doing well today?
Yes.
Amazing. So let's get started with first maybe understanding what accreditations are and what is their importance for universities such as AURAK.
Accreditations are very important for AURAK and all institutions of higher education because accreditation standards set the principles by which we evaluate is an institution a quality institution? Are the programs offered by that institution quality programs? And those standards have evolved over time based on consensus among higher education leaders as to what evidence indicates that a program or an institution really is of quality.
Yeah, of course. So what are the key accreditation or accrediting bodies that AURAK is affiliated with at the moment?
Well, first and foremost, AURAK is accredited by the Ministry of Education of the United Arab Emirates through its Commission for Academic Accreditation.
Yeah.
That is fundamental. It's fundamental for any UAE institution that wants to produce graduates who will be fully eligible for employment across all sectors in the UAE. We are also internationally accredited as an institution by one of the 6 regional United States accrediting bodies, SACS, COC. In addition, we have international accreditation by the Quality Assurance Agency of the United Kingdom. So those are institution-wide accrediting bodies. But we also have program-level accreditations. Our engineering programs, our computer science programs, our biotechnology program are accredited by ABET at the program level, and our business school is accredited by AACSB. And so these are additional markers of accreditation at the program level where these accrediting bodies are looking at standards that are very specific to the particular programs that are being offered.
All right, that's amazing. And as someone in the field, I think this is very understandable and very clear, but can we simplify it a bit more for the perspective of a student? How does accreditations impact their experience as a student? And of course, once they graduate, how does studying in a university that's recognized and accredited help their career once they graduate?
Of course. So these accreditation standards impact the student's interaction with the university at all levels. From the moment a student reaches out to talk to an admissions officer at an institution, those accreditation standards are playing a role because they help set the context for the kinds of conversations that can take place, what kinds of information the admissions officer is presenting to the student. As the student then investigates the programs that are being offered, those accreditation standards have helped shape how that program of study is sequenced over time. And so as the student and his or her parents look at that program of study, they know that there is a foundation on which that sequence has been built. And that if they're studying computer science at AURAK, that program is going to resonate with employers. It's going to resonate with other educational institutions that are offering similar programs so that if the student wants to go on to do a master's in computer science, they can be assured they've had a foundational experience through their 4 years at AURAK that is preparing them for that. Then when the student comes to the campus, the accreditation standards impact the interactions that faculty have with the student. The faculty members' approach to teaching, the faculty members' interaction with students outside the classroom, those are also impacted by those accreditation standards. We have to show to the accrediting bodies that our faculty have been provided with professional development around teaching so that they can be maximally effective in the classroom, so they can implement new pedagogies, new technology tools to help ensure that students are learning well. It also impacts the students' interactions with other staff members, staff in student affairs and student life who organize out-of-the-classroom experiences for students. Their activities, their interactions with students are also impacted by these accreditation standards that ensure that we are providing the kinds of services, the kinds of activities, the kinds of co-curricular and extracurricular activities that further enrich and enhance the educational experience of the student.
Yeah. So accreditations is really an all-around thing. It's not just academics, it's also outside the classroom. It really affects every aspect of a student's experience.
Absolutely, including what happens after they graduate. So students at AURAK are also going to be interacting with staff in the career development office. And those staff members are working with faculty to ensure that students are going to have practical experiences, for example, internships, that further enhance their skills, that give them the opportunities to take the knowledge and skills they're learning in the classroom and apply them in the actual workplace. And then when they leave AURAK, we want to remain connected with them. We want them as alumni because we want to continue to offer other learning opportunities, other professional development to our alumni, and we want to bring them back to interact with our current students so they can share the kind of real-world work experiences they've had that can further motivate current students
100%.
to follow in their footsteps.
Yeah, they become ambassadors to AURAK, of course.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that sounds like a quite challenging thing to do to get those accreditations, right? If we can get a quick run through, how do we obtain those accreditations and how do we maintain them?
It is indeed a very complicated process, and it begins in all cases with the institution or the program doing a self-study. They take the standards for accreditation, and they have to demonstrate how the institution is meeting those standards. So they have to provide a narrative describing how we meet them, but we also have to provide actual evidence of how we are meeting those standards. So, for example, I talked about faculty in the classroom. And so part of the accreditation standards is having a record of what actually happens in courses. What kinds of instructional materials are used? What kinds of assessments do faculty set for students to ensure that they are meeting the learning outcomes? And this has to be compiled consistently across every course, for every course and every program, so that we can show accreditors that we have indeed delivered on the promised learning outcomes that are a part of that program. So these self-studies are the basis for meeting the accreditation standards. But once we submit the self-study, the accreditor doesn't necessarily automatically take our word for what we've reported. They send a team of experts to the campus to meet with every constituency, the administration, the faculty, the staff, and of course, perhaps most importantly, the students, to see if what we've described in our self-study we are actually delivering on the ground at the university.
Well, it does sound very challenging. And then also for renewing it, we go through the whole process again?
Yes. So the process is a continuous quality improvement process. And so every accrediting body accredits either a program or an institution, but it does so for a fixed period of time. And through that period, the institution has to continue to amass evidence that it is continually adapting and improving the quality of the learning experience for students. And so some accreditations run for 3 years, some run for 5 years. I'm pleased to note that in our most recent SACS COC application for reaccreditation, we were approved for an entire 10-year cycle, although we will have to submit an interim report. But getting that kind of accreditation for that length of time is further evidence of the confidence that the accreditor has in the quality of the programs that we are delivering.
100%. So now those accreditation reaffirmations or renewals, they really do support the university stay relevant, I would say. Is that correct? I think it would allow us to stay relevant to the current market trends, the industry trends, that the educational programs are, still up to date, that we're not stuck at one point, because I'm sure like what's being taught 10 years ago is not the same material as being taught now, right? So those reaffirmations allow for that, right?
Absolutely. That's a very important part of the reaccreditation process. This continuous quality improvement includes incorporating new information, new knowledge, highlighting new skills that are needed in the workplace. And part of that reaccreditation includes, are we connecting with employers? Are we getting input and feedback from employers? And are we using that to revise and update and refine our curricula? So at AURAK, every school has at least one advisory council, and some have more than one, where industry professionals meet a number of times during the year with the dean and with faculty to review the curriculum, review the programs, and provide feedback and input about ways in which AURAK might think about revising, updating, or refining the kind of programming that we are offering for our students. And that's another reason we want to keep connected with those alumni, because we also like to involve them in these annual program reviews where faculty look at the learning outcomes for students over the course of the year and decide, are there courses we need to change, courses we need to revise, teaching methodologies that we need to update. And having alumni sit on those program review committees can be very important because they bring that real-world work experience and they can comment on what worked well, what prepared us well, but where are the scenarios, what was missing, what needs to be added.
All right. That was very insightful. I think we have a very good idea of accreditations now and, the whole process of obtaining them and everything. So last but not least, what advice would you give a prospective student or a parent planning to apply to a university in regards to accreditations?
Well, first, to ensure that the institution that you are applying to is accredited. And if you're in the UAE, you want to ensure that it's accredited by the Ministry of Education through the CAA. But beyond that, if you're interested in potential mobility, that is the ability to study outside the UAE, perhaps for graduate work, or to work readily outside the UAE using your undergraduate or graduate degree, you also want to look for those international accreditations. Because in addition to just being a barometer of quality, they help ensure that when you look to go to another country, that either educational leaders and universities there or employers are going to have confidence that the degree you have earned is comparable to degrees that are offered in that particular country. And so this issue of mobility is very important, and that's where international accreditations are extremely important.
Yeah, 100%. That's really good advice. And I think students should really consider that because we don't know the future, right? You don't know if you're going to be staying in this country forever or moving abroad. It's always good to keep your options open and not limit yourself. So, yeah, I hope students do listen to that advice. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
It was
And
great talking with you, Gada.
thank you. Stay tuned for the next episode.